Guys, appreciate you guys coming out today. Especially appreciate Mondo for putting this lineup together at this clinic. I've been going to these things a long time, and this is a hell of a lineup, especially for today. So I appreciate that. Everybody else equally has an appreciation for that. I'm going to be the sacrificial lamb and follow Coach Moffitt. All right. So I'll be forthcoming right now. I'm not a good speaker. Okay. I'm going to try my best not to swear, but I'm going to. All right. So I'm going to be too harshly on that. The one thing I'm gonna make up for my lack of those things is the ability to be transparent. So I will share anything and everything about what we do, how we do it, the things we suck at, the things I think we're really good at. And partially the reason I come and talk at things like this is not just to share with you, but it's also selfish ambition for myself. Because I'm hoping somebody's like, hey, we do that differently. We do that better than how you guys do it. Good. Share with me so I can get better too. Right? And I think the best way you can grow in that mindset is put yourself out there, talk about what you do, let people see it and get that feedback on it, right? So as we go through this, like I said, going to our fourth year at Florida State University, and kind of what I'm going to do today about our program is I'm going to kind of go like a inch deep and a mile wide. and basically take you through like what an entire year looks like within the program. Okay, now with a small group like this, if you guys got questions, you want to get into some stuff deeper, that is why I'm here. Okay, if not, I'm just going to talk really, really fast. I'm going to roll through this pretty quick. You guys good? All right. So we'll start off. I'm going to get into it first if my clicker works. Oh, there we go. Alright, so I'm going to throw a few videos in here. Now listen, these are not all highlight videos. I'm not like the high school kid that puts like his 10 highlights on his huddle film and tries to get a scholarship. I'm going to show you the whole game film, and you guys will see that as we get into some of this other stuff. Because I think that's important too. I don't want everybody to say like, oh, you guys are at that school, so everything is perfect, everybody's awesome. Trust me, it's not. Right? So you'll see some of that stuff in here too. This one might be more of a highlight though, so we'll start with this. So as we get into it, here's the thing. So like, I'm going to say right now, I'm not an expert in anything, right? In our job in this world, you got to be a Swiss Army knife in a lot of things. So the one thing I really think I'm an expert in is my guys at my place and my situation that I'm in right now, okay? And going back, had the privilege to work at UNLV a long, long time ago, worked for Mark Philippi there, with that time still competing in World's Strongest Man, learned a ton from him. One of the biggest things I learned when we talk in situations like this is just what we do. I'm just pulling the curtain back to show you what we do. And I'm going to 100% reserve the right to be completely wrong, okay? But if I'm completely wrong, I'll have a reason why I'm wrong, okay? So, getting into a little bit of program philosophy, okay? So what we're about, we're going to be hard work, done consistently, and done with a purpose, okay? And then going through just some of the things we value in our program, about work ethic, discipline, leadership, ability to overcome adversity, competitive spirit. Response is huge, good, bad, or otherwise, right? The only thing you're in control of in any kind of situation, how you respond to that situation. That is a huge pillar in our program, from the head football coach all the way down, is how you respond to those situations, because that's what's going to dictate the next play, the next step in your life, okay? And then all the little things. The little things are what are going to separate you from being a good team, to being a great team, to being a great father, to being an average father, right? All of those little things matter. If we can get our guys to understand that, get those guys to buy into the importance of the little things, even how your stance looks like in a walkthrough, well, that will pay off come game day, right? Those are the guys you can depend on when the chips are on the line, okay? Simple expectations, very, very simple, but high standards, right? It doesn't have to be confusing. Allow yourself to be coached. When you come in our room, be prepared to be coached. Everything we do is set up to coach our guys often, coach our guys hard, okay? Respect yourself, respect your football family, be your best every day. Everybody's a work in progress. Everybody in this room, every guy on my roster is a work in progress, right? So just every day, come be your best. Find a way to make that incremental improvement. Find that way to get 1% better. Be accountable to what you say you want. Don't tell me you want to go to the damn NFL and you come give half-assed effort in how you work, okay? Because when every kid, and I talk to those guys, hey, what do you want out of this game? What are your goals, this, that? Well, as soon as you've told me what you want, cool. Now you're in line to be accountable. You've just given me license to hold you accountable to what you said you want to do. So don't come in here with that bullshit if you tell me you have big dreams, right? And most time, if you can have that expectation with your kids, they're gonna allow you to push them on those bad days. Because everybody's got a day when they show up and they're not feeling it. Stuff's going on at home, things suck in class, whatever it may be, they're just trying to come in and check the box. Well, if you can help them refocus back that goal and why they're doing it, why they said they showed up in the first place, they're gonna allow you to push them to that level, right? And then the other thing too, we'll talk about this a lot, is the leadership thing. Anybody can lead. Anybody can lead. And leadership is not natural for high school, college, it does not matter. Leadership's not a natural thing for guys, okay? So what we gotta do early in our programs is identify guys who can be leaders. And to me, that's everybody. Now, does this mean everybody's be a team leader? No, hell no, it doesn't, right? But everybody can lead somebody. It starts with yourself, right? Leading yourself in a certain way. Well, if I can lead myself a certain way, if Vic and I are on the platform together, I could probably lead him. Even if I'm not the premier player of my team or whatever, we're working together, I can help push him, I can help lead him, right? And so we'll try to set guys up with like leadership reps that way. If you got a guy that wants to squat 600 pounds, you don't go throw 600 on the bar and say, all right, let's see what happens. No, you gotta squat 135 first, you gotta squat 225, 315, 405. You gotta get those reps in that time before you can eventually squat that 600. Leadership is the same way. I can't expect a guy to step in front of the team and be received as a team leader if he does not have those reps under his belt. If I try to do that, I'm setting that guy up for failure. So I try to set them up for success, right? Even little stuff early on, when you see guys in your freshman group that have the potential to be those leaders, good. In our freshman group, in our warm-up, I might have that guy give him the cadence on something. Simply making him speak in front of his teammates, right? Those guys get used to hearing his voice. Those guys get used to seeing his example. Well, if that guy can do that, guess what? He can kind of take that next step, and over the course of his career, he's not just leading the guy in his rack, he's leading guys in his room, side of ball. Maybe eventually he becomes that guy that can step in front of the team and lead the team as well. And what's the wrong way? Okay, so role. That's the strength of it. What's your job, right? It's a hell of a lot more than sets and reps, right? You got to build relationships with these kids. You have to be a teacher, right? At the end of the day, we're all teachers. We just have a very unique classroom, and to me, one of the most powerful classrooms you have to impact a kid's life is what happens out there on that weight room floor and out there on that turf. Okay, you got to instill the vision of your head football coach or whatever sport coach it is that you're working with, right? If your vision is different than his vision, your shit ain't gonna work. Okay, you got to find a way to be on the same page with his message and have your way of communicating that message to that team consistently throughout their career. Okay, and your culture you have in your weight room needs to mirror what that culture is in your program. Now, if you got a head football coach with a fucked up culture, you got a hard situation to figure out. Okay, you got to be relentlessly consistent in all areas. We're talking about young men that come from varied backgrounds, right? The one thing most guys have not had though is that consistent male role model in their life that gives them a consistent presence every day. You got to be that. Okay, and so one of the ways for me, I'm gonna be the same guy every single day. Okay, some days I'm on 10, some days I'm not on 10, but I don't believe if I'm on 10 every single day, what happens when I need to go to 10? Those guys are desensitized to it, right? So I want to be that same consistent deal, right? Like a tornado can come through and tear up a trailer park like that, okay? But that steady, smooth flowing water of the Colorado River carved the Grand Canyon. Well, I got those guys for multiple years of the program. I got to be that steady flowing water to eventually get those guys where I want them to be. Sometimes that means you got to meet them where they're at and bring them along. And then when you have those days you do need to go to 10, you do need to check a group, that has impact because you're not like that all the time. So like if we have a group and morning group and something goes awry, coach got to go off on them, my afternoon group will come to like, coach, what the fuck happened this morning? Well, that tells me that had impact because they talked about it all day. And those next groups come in, dialed in, on point, zipped up tight because they know like, yo, like today's not the day for bullshit, right? But if I'm just like that all the time, every day, and I've been in programs like that, I've been like that, I had coaches all the day. They really don't take that impact of what that message you're trying to get by in those moments you need it, okay? High standards of discipline and effort, anything you accept in your room, you encourage that, right? You want your guys to squat to depth, get them to squat to depth, right? That wasn't high enough, do it again, right? And it comes in all ways. It's the consistency in how you do that, right? You gotta teach them ability to work, strain, respond, and be coached hard. Understand that's not personal, that's pushing you towards goals, right? You gotta be actively involved in recruiting, and that has evolved more and more and more every year. That's been more than it was the year before. You guys in that role understand that, right? We'll be home for 4 hours tomorrow, we got official visits tomorrow, okay? Stay evolving. Have your pillars in your program. Have the things that are important to you that your program is going to be built around that are non-negotiables. But you've got to have room to evolve and change and become better at what you do, ways to add new things in. Especially guys like us that have been in the business 20 plus years, so many new things have come in, right? Well, I can't just like, nope, this is what we did then and it worked, I'm never changing. I need to find ways to be able to find what's useful out of this technology, find what's useful out of research, and how can I bring it in and augment the pillars that I believe in that are not going to change in my program. Okay, Provide guidance on more than training for your kids. What I'm saying, step away from the process. It's really easy for us to get caught up in the work, because that's why we're there. You step in my room, man, we only got so much time, backs against the wall, clock is ticking, we gotta get this work done. But if that's all I have for him, and all everything coach cares about is how much they squat or what they weigh today or whatever, like, I'm gonna lose those relationships along the way. So don't be afraid to step out of the process every now and then, get away from football, get away from training, and actually talk to your kids, okay? That's the stuff that's powerful, that's the stuff you can lean on when that same kid's having a bad day. You can go back to some of those conversations you had as to why they're doing it in the first place, okay? Support and power the other areas, okay? Coach talked about this too. Whether it be nutrition, the training room, all those things, you are responsible for that relationship. You got a bad relationship with your athletic trainer, you think your athletic trainer sucks, that's on you, fix that, okay? Because at the end of the day, their job performance affects you and your performance more than you do theirs. Same as nutrition, you think your dietitian sucks, find a way to get that relationship better, because how good they're at your job affects how good I am at my job. So it is my responsibility to foster those relationships and then empower those areas. Even if I don't believe in all of it, those kids got to hear one voice. Because if I'm sitting there and I think our dietitian sucks, and my kids get that vibe off me, then she can no longer help any of them. So I got to make sure I empower her, put her in a position to have a strong presence in front of those guys, sell that one message. And if I don't 100% believe in that message, we got to be able to move forward. And then you try to educate and develop that as you go. And just like all of us, I don't care if you're at Florida State, Baylor, high school, wherever, you still got to find ways to maximize your resources and budget, because you're always going to want more. You got to find ways to make that happen. Okay? I really can never go the right direction. All right. So how are we going to evaluate some of this stuff? So here's the things that we look at daily. And there's times here we go through, we score this. This goes into like our unity challenge points and stuff like that. So simple stuff, attendance, right? Not giving you points for showing up. You're supposed to show up. Okay? Take points away if you don't show up. And then for us, anytime like if we have a missed workout, like Coach said, if you communicate, I'm good. And now don't communicate at 12:59 that you're gonna be late for your 1 o'clock. You know what I'm saying? If you've communicated ahead of time, man, I'll work with guys till no end and have those open lines of communication. If you miss, you push the plate for 300 yards, or if you're late, push the plate for 300 yards. If you miss, push it for 500. That's standard. I've done that way forever. If I got a kid that does happen to run in late, there's no conversation about it. That kid will run straight over and get the plate and push it, because they know, I don't care if you're a quarterback that might win a Heisman this year, or if you're the worst walk-on on my roster, everyone gets it the same. You got it, once again, you got to be what? Consistent. Because if I don't punish him, because he's my best player, but I punish you because you're not as vital as he is, guess what though? You guys are still boys. You guys may live together. You guys have conversations outside the room, and what's the conversation be? Man, that's fucking bullshit. Well, as soon as it's bullshit, man, your program is going down, okay? Body weight, track the guys' body weights, our priority weight gain, weight loss guys, things like that. Dress of the day. Okay, we're real big on showing up and dress of the day. Is that because I want all my guys to match? No, I don't give a shit if they match or not. You know what this is though? This is a trust builder. If I can't trust you to show up in the right shit to work out, how am I going to trust you to execute our offense or communicate our defense? This is small ways to build trust. This is getting reps, okay? Program says, do you do things our way? Now, we got a lot of rules for our guys. Hat hood off in the buildings, take your earrings out, no headphones in the building, things like that. Why do we do that? Because I don't like earrings? No, not at all. Not at all. In fact, I wish every single guy on our team had to have earrings, just so when they come to the building, they have to stop and take them out real quick, right? Because all that does is, that's that one brief moment as I walk in the building, like, hey, this is about this is not about me. It's just a little small action. And like the hoods and the headphones deal, that's simply for relationships and interaction. It's so easy now, I can put my hood on, I can put my headphones in, and I can live in my phone, and I don't ever get to talk to Vic. I don't ever talk to Coach, right? So we don't let those guys do that in the building, because you don't ever know when that one conversation, that one handshake is going to be able to change the trajectory of a kid's life. They walk by someone in the hallway and don't even look at them. When who knows, they stop, have a brief conversation, that might be something that helps that guy out in life somewhere along the way. So we just don't allow those guys to do that. And once again, it's just little things. It's not a big deal. It's a very small sacrifice for a greater good of what we're trying to do. Got the discipline stuff, same thing. That's all your daily stuff. Are you focused when you walk in and you try to check a box, right? Are you doing what you're supposed to do? Okay, your attitude. Are you attacking the day? Are you giving juice to the room, or are you being an energy vampire taking juice away? Are you sucking up man hours because you can't do it on your own? Okay? Are you engaged? You need to be told twice to do everything. Okay? Daily effort, right? Leave no doubt, man. You're a finisher. Run through the line, you're running through the damn line. Those are standards of the program. Your toughness, right? Your body language is louder than any words you say. Okay? And then same thing too with the attitude of like not putting limitations on yourself, right? You want me to jump on you real quick in the weight room, come in and tell me, Coach, I can't do this today. All right, we're about to have a real conversation, right? Let's find out what we can do, okay? Get into leadership stuff, right? positive vocal presence, right? Be the physical example. Once again, who are you leading? Because not everybody can lead everybody, but you can lead somebody, okay? So as we go through this stuff and we score these things, it goes back to this though, okay? To get points out of leadership, you also have to display those things. Because don't fucking call yourself a leader if you're not disciplined, if you don't have the right attitude, if you're not a tough ass, if you're not putting out the effort. Because if you're subpar in those 4 areas, you're not a leader, you're a fucking fraud. We don't have room for that in our program, they'll sink your program faster than anything, right? So those are the things that we gotta teach those guys, right? You gotta tell those guys, understand the guy that always wants to have something to say for the team, like, bro, you can't do that because you don't do this or you don't do that. Look at your score last week. Do you think you can really get in front and tell these guys how it should be done? No. Okay, so, but you want to do that. So what do you got to do to put yourself in that spot? Well, I got to do better here. Okay, let's do better there. Did it, I went the right way. No, I didn't. Like, I really feel like it should be down and it's up. All right. So, athletic-based training. Know who you train and why you're training them. Okay? Talking football, I'm going to be very specific, right? That is the job I'm training them for. So my training better look, feel like football. It better translate to football. If it doesn't, what am I doing? I don't got much time to screw around with stuff that don't matter. Okay? The who is important. Is it a freshman? Is it a 5th-year guy? Is it a high school kid? There's a big difference in training of what you can do and what you need to do. My mom's 67 years old. She could put chains on a bar and squat it. Does my mom really need to do that? No. Right? We'll have kids that come in all the time. Oh yeah, we did whatever bands and chains and stuff in my high school program. 90% of the time that same kid's squat looks like dog shit. All right, well, let's get great at these basics. And then once you need these other things, let's add them in. Talk about doing vanilla the best, right? We talk about all the time, be brutal at the basics. Be awesome at being a beginner coach. Because at the end of the day, even at college, our guys, most of them are beginners. Even my best, strongest guy, most prowess in the weight room is really maybe like an intermediate lifter. Because they're not lifters. And so we all get caught up reading articles, going to clinics, learning stuff. All these high-level training modalities are meant for specific populations, then try to apply them to a population that wasn't meant for them. Like someone would be like, oh yeah, we really believe in West Side. Is Chuck Vogel in your weight room? No, then stop doing this with this 15-year-old kid that squats 155. Get him strong, be basic. Don't be scared to be simple in what you do, because that will make your kids great and build the foundation for the future. We all get caught up. You learn stuff, you want to just unleash this upon your team. Check yourself on that though. Does that team really even need that? They don't need it, don't do it. Get them great first, okay? Build athletic traits. It's not all about the max. Now trust me, I'm trying to get my guys as strong as I can possibly get my guys. But that is all I'm concerned about. I'm not concerned about the movement, the quality, those types of things. I'm going to lose things along the way. They're taken away from developing athleticism, which ultimately all those guys are moving weights to become better at football. You got to keep that in mind, okay? Bigger, faster, stronger? No shit. That's the barrier of entry into the job. If you're only doing that, nothing more than that, you're not doing a very damn good job. You got to prepare those guys here and here just as much as you prepare the muscles, right? To me, building confidence is just as, if not more important than building muscles, okay? Trade economy, organization efficiency is key, okay? Like Coach said, we used to have 8, then we had 6, now you're sharing time. In high school, you might have guys coming into class, you have 55 minutes, but they still got to change clothes, shower, get warmed up, you have this much time. You got to be efficient. So you got to be efficient, you got to learn how to trim the fat out of your program. What is the most important thing right now, okay? And if you can handle those things and get good at that, then you can start adding more stuff in it. But you can't get caught up trying to do too much. You're always better off doing too little than too much, especially early on, okay? Is it usable? That's one of the hardest things today, especially for young coaches. There's so much information out there and so much research out there and so many things thrown at you every day. And so you may read a 20-page research paper. It's like, damn, this stuff is really important. What you got to realize though is that whole paper is written about something that's 1/10 of 1% of the big picture. So don't measure in the minutia, okay? The big shit, the big lifts have worked forever. They will work forever. Find the small stuff to augment what you're doing as you go, but don't get caught up majoring in the minor, okay? Same thing, free weight, multi-joint, total body movements. That is athleticism. That's how the game is played. I don't care what the game is. That is what you need to be doing. In our weight room, we're never getting very damn far away from a barbell or a dumbbell. You can come in the room and look around, and like you don't see many machines outside of some rehab stuff, right? That's where the game is played. That's where training's gonna be based at. Okay, listen. You're gonna take. There's no true. There's not a lot of protocols for training an athlete, right? You want to train a bodybuilder for a show, there's a protocol for that. You want to get ready for a powerlifting meet, a lifting meet, there's a protocol for that. You want to be a strong man, there's a way to go about that. Okay? You want to be a sprinter, there's a way to go about that. I train football. My guys are all those things. So you got to be able to pick and choose what's important on those disciplines, what's applicable and actionable for your guys, and then figure out your best way to put that together in the right package you feel best prepares your guys who want to be successful in the field. Be able to integrate new ideas without sacrificing your philosophy. Talk about this a little bit. There's tons of interesting shit out there. There's a lot of shiny red balls. You can't chase them all, right? And that's why you got to have people around you that can bring stuff to you like, hey, coach, I'm researching this. This looks really good. Okay, can we use it? Can we measure it? Is it going to make us better, or is it just something new and flashy we're trying to chase? So once again, always applying that filter to what you're doing, especially what you're bringing new into your program. And then making sure you bring stuff new in. Does it fit your program? Does it fit who you are? Does it fit how you coach? Does it fit your major pillars of your program? I'm just gonna all right, so I'm not gonna talk much sets and reps, just as a guideline though, right? So one of the things we'll lean on quite a bit, I'll use Pillow's chart for a lot of stuff we do, okay? It's not gonna lead you wrong. But one of the things I've done though, is I've actually extended it down almost more to the athlete range, because once again, Pillow's chart was made for who? Lifters. The guys aren't lifters. So if I start looking at some of the stuff, you start getting even into like the optimal volume, fuck, my guys gotta go out and sprint, they gotta go out and do skills and drills, they gotta do those things. Optimal for those guys might be high as shit, okay? So maybe there's times of the year where we can touch into that, but there's a lot of times we'll stay more in that more athletic range and some of that stuff as we'll follow that stuff through. Like I said, it's not a be all end all, but this is a good guideline as a place to help start structuring some of the stuff that you're doing. Yes. All right, General Philosophy running program. There is not another team in the country that's gonna run the way we are gonna run. Is that true? No. But you better be telling your kids that, just like you tell your kids that. Because what are you doing? You're building confidence. I want those guys when they go out to go back and like, whatever, you're in at halftime, it's a tight game, when those kids will go back to the hard shit they did, that they feel separates them from the team they're playing. Man, they're not built like us, they don't live like us, they didn't run all those things, they didn't push those fucking sleds like us. They probably did, right? But if my kids believe otherwise, that is powerful. So sell that to those guys, okay? So 3 distinct goals now we run. Develop acceleration and speed, and to be honest, in the game of football, I'm gonna put a little more of my focus on acceleration than I am peak velocity. Not that we don't do peak velocity, that we don't touch it, but if I'm gonna say the bulk of our speed work is spent in doing one or the other, it's a little more biased towards acceleration, okay? Build efficient change of direction, build game day endurance, okay? Foundation, at the end of that though, you still gotta improve strength, power, and the weight room and all the other stuff to get better. You can't have one without the other, okay? Strong emphasis, change of direction, agility meets conditioning, we will use a lot of change of direction as our conditioning. Okay? We run a limited amount of like tempo style running and whatnot. It has its place. There's certain times it's extremely important for us to use, but especially as we get in the summertime, there's a lot of change of direction. Okay? And then metabolic conditioning tended to meet the demands of practice, not the game, practice. Because by the time I'm training guys in the summer, by the time that first game comes, what we did in the summer is damn near long gone, right? I'm getting them ready for camp. I'm fortunate, I've been the same coach for over 10 years. I got a real good idea what camp looks like. So even the way we structure our sets and reps of our conditioning stuff in the summertime is very similar to what those guys will do when they take the field when camp comes, right? And this is not even getting into the GPS stuff. This is simply just watching practice. Now, with the addition of GPS, now I can double check my stuff. I like to program it out, go back to the numbers. Does what I think is right actually look right compared to the numbers? If it does, then we're in a good spot. Okay, the speed work, fundamentals, teach the kids how to sprint. Speed work is probably the most unnecessarily overcomplicated aspect of training, right? You don't be scared to keep it simple, right? Every guy has plenty of fast kids in the program that run like shit. They just have to be fast. So nobody ever intervened earlier along in their developmental life. They're already fast, just let them go, right? And then your big guys, none of them can run for shit because you're big, of course you can't run. Bullshit. Teach those guys to run well, right? So we'll focus a ton on basically what I call 3 Ps, posture, pattern, push, right? And we will drill and mock drill our guys to death in this stuff consistently throughout their career. But then all of a sudden you see you got your big guys out and you're running tempo stuff, and you got your 325-pound D tackle who's making real deal sprint shapes when he's running. That tells me this shit works, right? And for those guys who are already fast, now they can run better, they're more efficient. They're probably gonna get faster, but they're gonna do it more efficiently, they're gonna stay a little more injury free, it's gonna be a little less energy cost as they're doing it. Like I said, keep it simple, okay? Same thing, standard methods and tools, we do a ton of wall drills to work that posture, okay? Mock drills, tons and tons and tons of pattern work. Even early in the year, this almost becomes like, I don't want to call it conditioning, but we use it as a work capacity drill in developing that pattern, okay? Do a ton of resistance stuff. Use the sled. I like the chains because of the way because the kind of friction deal with it, and we use the run rockets on and off as well. With the sleds, typically we're going to go between like 10 and 20% of body weight, and we kind of progress that. We go, we'll start heavy, move to lighter as the velocities and distances increase, okay? And with the free sprint stuff, we'll do a lot of soft starts and walk-in starts. We're still going to teach the start, because if the guy's got to run a 40 and that 40 matters, most of us get made up in that start. So we usually focus on the start pretty heavily when we're doing the resistance stuff as opposed to the free work. One of the things we'll do in our speed work is we'll waterfall start everything. I know this seems really simple, and some of you guys are probably, yeah, that's just what we do. But you know, you see a lot of programs though too. It's like, all right, first rip's up, boom, whistle, 30 guys are going at once. If I run 30 guys out there at once, how many guys can I actually coach? Not very damn many, right? So we're gonna start the front of the line. Boom, first guy goes, he's 2 steps in, bang, 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 down the line. And I can walk right down the line, I can see steps, I can see space, I can see shapes, I can see postures. I got my other coaches down the line farther who are seeing as they start to rise up in their sprint stuff. So now you can coach it as they go, and you can catch guys more individual as they go. It's a really, really simple thing, but man, it's a powerful tool when you do your speed work. Plus, it's building in your rest. There's nothing worse than, boom, send 30 guys. All right, man, we gotta rest now this long before we run our next rep. That's the worst, right? Trying to keep those guys focused. They're idiots. They're gonna lose focus. They're gonna be doing all kinds of wild shit, right? Well, if I'm waterfalling that, the first guy goes, by the time the last guy goes, and now I'm walking back down the line, catching a couple guys coaching cues. By the time I get back to that first guy, it's time to go again. Plus, you put a little pressure on them. If we're waterfalling that, I'm going, there's a lot of eyes on me. I'm a little more dialed in if I know all my teammates are watching me as I get into this, okay? And then just trust what you see and don't be scared to adapt. We all program it out ahead of time, but if you got a day where like you're not seeing what you want to see, don't be scared to adapt. If you got a day where those guys are popping and everything is awesome, don't get greedy and try to go back to the well. Don't be scared to cut that a little bit early. If they've shown you and displayed what you need to see, don't be scared to cut it. Save that volume for another day, right? You got to keep in mind with these kids, I don't care if it's speed work, their lives, or whatever. The kids we coach are not bar graphs. You can't just keep going up forever in all aspects. These kids are pie charts. If something gets bigger, something else has to give. If something else gives, something else can get bigger, right? You got to keep that in mind at all times. And like I said, that's their lives. That's how you set their schedule up. That is in all aspects. Okay? Just a little kind of sample of what some of the speed stuff will look like in the wintertime. Come out, early prep, we'll just do a little bit of S-curve running just to kind of get them out and get them moving. Go straight to our wall drills. Go straight into just basic dynamic warm-up movement. From there, like I said, we'll mock drill those guys. Do a lot of stuff, hands on hips, just to focus on lower body posture, bring the arms into it. And then usually that's the day we're gonna get our jumps done that day. You see on that Monday, which is more the resistance excel, you got your resistance starts, and then we'll always laser time some stuff, because we're gonna post rank everything we do, because those guys gotta see those results day in, day out. Plus, if I run fast than you, I wanna have the opportunity to talk shit to you about it. You know what I mean? You gotta provide that stuff for your kids. And then with the free excel on the Fridays, very, very similar. I'm going to use some different drills because we're touching faster speeds that day. Some of the drills will be set a little more for max velocity type drills, and then getting into the actual work there at the end. So okay, right. All right, here we go. Now the highlight film. This is like Monday, week 2 in the winter, shitload of newcomers, because you guys all know anymore, no kids starting summer school anymore for us. We'll have our entire signing class basically come in January. Like here in a couple weeks when summer starts, I have 6 freshmen coming that aren't already here. So you're gonna have all your transfers, and have 3/4 of our signing class, so you have a lot of newcomers in the wintertime, okay? So, just get in, once again, doing some wall drills, get back against the wall, teach them front side mechanics. You guys all work with football players. All those football guys are super, super backside dominant, so we're trying to get everything to happen out front. So a lot of drills we're doing, just like that wall march, starting against the wall, getting that pattern down, because now I can't get back into the wall. Everything has to happen in front of me, moving them forward. This is the first time they did this, and this is awful. It makes my fucking skin crawl. It did get better, but once again, I want to show you guys the bad stuff along with the good stuff too, okay? Now, with a little more veteran group, we're waterfalling this one from the middle, because we're still in the warm-up. So I'm gonna start from the middle and work my way out, just because it's gonna go a little bit quicker. I don't have all the time in the world. As we get into the sprint stuff, though, you'll see we go from end and walk our way through it. So once again, working mock drills, working force in the ground, working that 4-foot strike, and then opportunity to move around and coach those guys as they go, okay? And this will kind of work through it. Wish I could fast forward a little bit, but I can't. So with our speed stuff, we're always doing all of our speed stuff inside. I want those guys to be able to focus on technique, focus on what I'm asking them to do. So like I don't go outside, because I'm just gonna take the variable away of the weather, take the variable away of the surface, have them focus on what they're doing. So it could be beautiful outside, it could be shitty outside. I'm gonna stick with all my speed stuff inside, okay? This is still all within the series of the mock drill stuff. Once again, just working pattern to death until they can't do it wrong. And you see that carry over to the sprint work. I'll put you in plenty of competitive situations throughout the year. There's times where I don't want competition. I want focus on the quality of the work and the quality of the effort going into it, okay? A little bit of condition stuff. Prepare the team playing our brand of football, okay? Everybody plays the game a little bit differently. Everybody's practices look a little bit differently. So I gotta make sure when I'm looking at that, what am I doing condition-wise? It better start looking like that, okay? That's my target. My target is practice, okay? Football's not playing in straight lines. You gotta condition the body to meet that demand, right? You gotta change direction. You gotta prepare that way, okay? Acceleration, deceleration, change direction. That is to be consistent in all of our sessions. And then just different conditioning needs. Just once again, who are you coaching and what is their job? Do I got an old lineman? Do I got a DB? Both of them run the exact same thing with both those guys and all this stuff. I'm missing both somewhere, right? So just keep in mind, like that's not a huge point, but just keep in mind, who are you training, what's their job? Make sure you're preparing for to do their job. Now, is there times where those guys are doing the same thing? Yeah, I mean, of course there is, right? Then just levels of development, okay? You got a big difference in your first year freshman, your fifth year guy, okay? And even now with the portal coming in, you got guys that come in who've been in the program for 2 or 3 years, you gotta figure out where they're at. And I'm not above putting a guy who's a transfer, who I don't think is a very good lifter, who needs a lot of development, all the way back into my freshman developmental group, right? And so once again, you gotta be able to evaluate those guys. What's their training age look like? How much time do they spend in our program, okay? Where's their strength level at? We had outliers. I had a freshman wide receiver, a mid-year guy last year that came in and squatted 585 after being on campus for 5 weeks. The guy's not really a freshman anymore, right? I gotta be able to manage his training a little bit differently. One of the main things I'll do in that developmental level, I'm not writing a completely wholesale different program for each level. The biggest thing I'm mostly manipulating the volume of what their training is, right? That kid that's 585, he can't handle that same squat volume over the course of the week that most of those freshmen can. I gotta treat him a little more like my vets. I gotta reduce that volume a little bit, allow him to continue to touch those high intensity weights, push that limit strength. But if I hit him with that same volume as other guys, that guy's gonna be crushed. That guy ain't running shit that week, okay? Look at history of injury. You might be a guy that's in the advanced program, you got a shoulder surgery after the season, I'm probably gonna revert you back into one of the earlier programs, just based upon the time lost from injury and which you need to address, okay? And by doing that, if you're setting those guys up, you're stimulating gains for the duration of their career, and then also too, those kids know that you're actually paying attention to where they're at in your program, and they feel like what they're doing is a little more custom built for them. Okay? Vision of training year. You got 3 stages: rejuvenation, developmental, competitive. Okay? Use the right tools at the right time. Depending on what time of year you come to my room, my programs will look very different. Okay? If your program looks the same year round, once again, you're probably missing something, right? You're going to use the right tool at the right time. We might train 3, 4, 5 days a week, depending on the time of year that we're in. Okay? Rejuvenation stage, I'm not going to spend much time on this because last year when we played in the bowl game, we started our winter program 9 days after the bowl game. That rejuvenation stage was take a fucking break, I'll see you in a week and a half. And there's no choice, right? I've had years where you don't play the bowl game. You finish playing at Thanksgiving and you're not coming back. You know, if you're a school that doesn't start until after Martin Luther King Day, it's like 6, 7 weeks. They got to have a program for that time, right? For us, we start school on like the 4th. Down there, our academic calendar's the worst. Our kids don't get time off, right? So once again, have the right time. Now, dealing with sport coaches, this and that, oh, it's caveman, the weight room, all you care about is lifting weights, this, that, whatever, right? Everybody's been through that. Be organized about what you do. If you have a chance to over-exceed the expectation or position, you have to do that. That's good for the profession, it's good for you, and it's gonna buy you leeway and equity in the program to get more done on what you want to get done, okay? So be organized, okay? Have a plan. There's a year. You having to argue with the sport coach about what you're doing? Leave that on their desk, like, oh fuck, they thought this shit through. Yeah, we did, right? Okay, rejuvenation, like I said, it exists. For us, it really don't exist much. I'm skipping it, okay? Getting the development program, right? So talk winter, spring, summer, man. That is the bulk of the training year. That's where we're gonna test, we're gonna evaluate. Starting off in the winter, we're gonna be very, very general. We're going all back to the foundation of what we do. Just like if you coach football, every year when spring ball rolls around, what do? You go back to the very, very basic fundamentals of football. That's what we do during the winter program in our training. That's the time of year when the main focus is. It's bigger, faster, stronger. Most of my guys are doing basically the same thing in the weight room outside of some volume considerations for my advanced guys, because that's the time of year it is. We gotta build muscle mass, we gotta get bucket strong, we gotta get fast, okay? So that's our focus that time of year. Now as we get into summertime, we gotta start getting a little more specific to ball. We gotta start getting a little more dialed in as to what we need from a condition standpoint as we close in on camp. Okay, winter program, we get 8 weeks there. Okay, I'm fortunate. Coach let me set our entire calendar for our program. So I pushed spring ball back as late as I can possibly push it so I can get the longest uninterrupted time of training up front before that. Okay, I want those guys to have a chance after the season, one, to heal up a little bit, but a chance to develop and show what they can be the next year. I always feel if you start spring ball early, you still got a lot of guys beat from the season, and that freshman was a freshman last year is going to be a sophomore. He hasn't had time to change that much yet to be able to go out and display what he's going to be going into the next year. So I always feel if you push spring ball later, we have a better chance. Now the caveat to that is, you get a guy hurt during spring ball, has to have a surgery or something, now you're getting pregame close to camp. So there is a trade-out with that, right? It's all about what your head coach is comfortable with. My head coach puts a premium on development, so that's what we do, we develop, okay? Like I said, back to basics, that's the time of year we'll test. I'm a 1-rep test guy. You can tell me that it's, 3-rep test, same rep. I'm a 1-rep guy, I always have been, I always will be, okay? I'd rather see that guy squat 600 once with a total tonnage of 600 pounds as opposed to having to squat 500 for a triple at 1,500, right? There's more opportunity for something to go wrong in a rep test, in my opinion, okay? There's also a different level of mental engagement, right? If I'm on a rack and hit for a few times, I only gotta be so amped up and so dialed in. If I'm on a rack and a bar that I don't know if I'm coming back up with, I'm at a different heightened level of awareness and heightened state when I do that. I need my guys to be able to tap into that. This time of year, we're getting into the discipline, attention to detail, accountability, overcoming adversity response. This is the opportunity. All my leaders from the year before are gone, more often than not, right? So now I gotta start building new leaders, putting guys in position to become the leader that we know they can become. They're just not there yet. This is the time of year for us. We call it tour duty. That's mat drills. You want to piss off straight coach Twitter? Start talking about mat drills. Yep. All right. I'll tell you right now, I'm a huge fucking believer in it. And if you tell me that mat drills are bullshit, you get nothing out of it, I'm gonna tell you you don't understand football, right? And here's why. I can take those guys out and I can take them through mat drills, which is me and my staff. I can't create the level of anxiety and the pressure as when it is the head coach that is there coaching them, right? You got to get those guys uncomfortable. Everybody can do this shit when it's 70 and sunny and everything's going right. You need to put them in an adverse situation because that is what the game is going to demand of them. Now, does it mean you're getting out of control with it if you're running guys? No. Is it hard? Yes. But part of the hardness of it is the anxiety created in the situation, okay? So that's been a huge thing for us as we go through our tour duty program. We'll start that off the first few weeks of winter, just going on Fridays as the coach is still on the road recruiting. They come back off the road in time for Friday afternoon for tour duty. After signing day, and we'll kick over. That becomes Tuesday, Thursday mornings. And that's where we roll that during the week. Okay, so a little bit how the weeks broke up. So Mondays, we do our resistance acceleration work. That's the main day we're going to clean or whatever our secondary squat's going to be. On Tuesdays, okay, so you see blitz groups there. So for us, blitz group, that's like, if you want to go back to like West Side terminology, that's like extra workouts, okay? So every guy usually wants to do extra. Coach, I want to do more. They have no idea what they want to do. For them doing more, it's like, I'm going to come and bench press some more. That's probably not what you need, right? So kind of what we do is we create kind of like a menu style training. Okay, so those groups, they're short groups, they start organized, they'll come in, we'll get brief work together, which is usually like their neck works, some rotational core works, and things like that. And then from there, it's what do you need? Okay, you're a young skinny guy, we got an option to get a pump, get some hypertrophy in. You're a guy coming off an injury, here's our shoulder care stuff, here's our hip care stuff, whatever it may be. So that way a guy can come in, do extra, but we're helping guide them as to what they need to do. And some guys, let's let them choose and do whatever they want to do. If you're a guy that comes in and you're a young guy, you haven't done much yet, you got to gain muscle mass, all these things, you're not coming in and picking the recovery option that your ass is touching weights, okay? But I might have an older guy who is beat up, who does move weight, who's got a lot of equity in the program. That guy needs that recovery and that movement work stuff. All right, cool. Now for the other guy, if you want to stay and hit a second group and do that, by all means. But we got to make sure we're getting the extra work they need to get, okay? Like I said, as we switch into phase, and then on that day, we'll go out that night. That's like our team station change direction work, okay? We'll have some instructional stations and some stations we're taking the instruction and putting into full action. Once again, that's not going to be about so much as a conditioning thing as it is quality of movement and intensity of what we're doing, okay? As we get to phase 2, tour duties in the morning, blitzes in the afternoon. Wednesdays, just a lift, we're going to bench that day, our secondary Olympic movement. Going into Thursday very close to the nearest Tuesday, except in that phase 1, that's the day we're going to run tempos on that day because we know we got tour duty coming on Friday, okay? Friday, early on phase 1, that's old school Nebraska metabolic strength circuit. If you guys haven't done it before, I recommend it. It's awesome. Okay? You want to find some shit about your team, put them in that. Okay? And for that time of year, that fits well for us, right? It's a brief window of time. It gives us a way to transition out of it. And then for setting up what they have coming later that day of tour duty, it works out really well. As we get to phase 2, that becomes now our free sprint, more of our max velocity day. That's still our big squat day, and then a lot of body armor development going on Friday. Just an idea of kind of what the card looks like throughout the winter program. Okay, all the card stuff, I'm old school, I do it on Excel, I like having a card. I like on Friday, we can take the card, and there's more notes in the card than what's printed on the card, because it helps me adjust those guys. We'll go through every Friday with the staff. Anything like you see, like the stuff that's in gold, that's the stuff where coaches will have to see that with their eyes, sign that off. That may be a bump set, that may be whatever the focus is, maybe just simply record what the velocity was. And then we'll go through on Fridays, run down through the list, and we'll adjust all of our training maxes every Friday, okay? Because those guys are all gonna get better at different rates. You got guys that are suddenly, what used to be 85%, and now they're absolutely smashing that. Well, I better bump that guy's max, but otherwise I'm wasting time if I'm waiting until we test. By the time we get to test week, I'm gonna know within 20 pounds probably what a guy's gonna hit, because we've gradually adjusted them all the way through. Just trying to keep the training on pace with where they're at. Okay? A little bit of tour of duty action.
Think back. Rewind and react. That's what you gotta do. Come on, do it. Yeah. Hey, get sticky, still sliding this risky. Put it on the even. Facebook 50, one to the neck, get a little bro. No, my best has to be your best. When I'm in your city, I'm a top boy, tell them get up with me. Anyone, anybody, I'ma have me about a few killers with me. Spin on the block, get busy. Spin on my block, digging with these silly. Spin a block, 2 days and drinking. Even overseas, I'm great, keep working. You know your math now. How you gonna run from a dot? Spin a block, every o'clock. I'm leave him until he drop. No, I can't get no love. He's not my guy, he's not my bro.
Basically, you see the video, the thing, like, you watch the drills, whatever, listen to the coach in the background. There is a lot of action, a lot of commotion going on. That's why mat drills is important. That sounds like practice. If you close your eyes and you watch that video, it sounds like practice. Good, because what's their job? What are we getting ready for? Practice, right? You got to be able to replicate that. You got to put them in those pressure situations, have them perform. And in Tour Duty, we're coaching everything. And when those guys break down, they're breaking down with a specific near foot forward to whoever's breaking them down. When they're out, we're coaching to rip an elbow and get out. It's not just doing it. There's detail and action to everything they do. There's also accountability for those actions when they do not do those. And then just kind of what the mat itself looks like is simple as old school mat drills, right? This is the same thing that was born at Florida State that kind of became part of our program a long time ago. Todd Graham was at Rice, went out and visited there one spring, took extensive notes, took that with him through his career. I started working for TG in 2012. This is part of our program. Took this to Memphis with us, and then because the world is weird, we ended up back at Florida State and brought this back almost in the same form that had been done with Mickey Andrews and Coach Bowden long before us, okay? And so, trust me, it was some interesting moments, because chances are in this video as I'm running the mat, Coach Andrews is over here with an angry ass look on his face watching the whole thing. And all I'm hoping is when we get done, you get a little bit of a nod that it was good. Because that's about the most affection or appreciation you get out of it. If you get that, it's a good day. And you'll see guys do shit good, you'll see guys do stuff bad, but then this is just part of it. This is when we're going side the ball. So you got right here, you got this is going back and forth. You have either all offense or all defense. Other side of the ball is the other half of the field, working more like position-specific agility and indie type drills. And that's it. Have some stuff in the program that you're angry, right? Have some traditions. Have some things that are a big deal. You want to get kids to embrace the hard shit. Well, a big ass squat is fucking hard work. You got a lot of guys that don't like that. But if you can turn that into a big deal in your program, also those guys are going to have a little more affinity towards that. So for us, if we test squat, call it squat parties, we're out the program. On that day we do that, every single person in the program who touches football is in the room that day. Like Mama B that works in the FIG that serves our kids lunch is in that room cheering for us. All of our academic people are in there. Creative people, recruiting people, coaches, all in the room. And it's chaos that day, but it's a huge day for our program. We get kids who have bought into this that have never bought into doing this shit otherwise. And the guys in that day, in that environment, will do stuff they probably never could have otherwise. You know what I'm saying? You have a guy who maybe would have squatted at 545, he gets caught in that environment, also that guy who's a 545 squatter becomes a 625 squatter because he is in the moment, right? And that's important, right? It's also why I can't train kids up 100% of that max they hit on that day. You know what I'm saying? Like with our training maxes during the year, I usually train off like 90 to 93% of their tested max. It's no different than if a power lifter hits a number to meet and then tries to train off that number, you're not gonna do that, okay? So I don't use 100% of the training max for what we train off of year round. But we do constantly adjust that, so it is in flux. So, but I'm never going to be trained off 100% of their training max. Okay, I'm going to keep that sub-maximal with those repeated efforts, and then there's times we're going to work up singles after we do truly touch the 100%, try to touch that limit strength in training. Okay, spring program, going through spring ball. Spring ball is interesting. It's not really an in-season program. It's not fully developmental either. Okay, so we're gonna go 3 days a week. We're gonna practice on Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. We're gonna train Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Conditioning is going to be conditioning as we met by our practice tempo. Our intensity is to stay high. We're still going to get up 90+% in spring, right? But we're going to have less volume, so we're going to go out and play football on those days in between, okay? And then once again, our athletes right now, they're off campus in May. Everybody's got a specific program to take home. Usually we go a couple weeks to some simple like body part type training, and we'll get about a 3-week ramp up going into the summer. That'll start this Monday, okay? And so with that, Monday, we front load this week, primary Olympic, primary squat, primary bench that day. Tuesday's a practice day. Wednesday's a little quicker, more explosive day. Practice on Thursday. Friday, our secondary Olympic. A lot of our body armor stuff that day. Then usually scrimmage on Saturday. Okay. Kind of what we'll do, getting in the card a little bit on the next slide, is typically we'll have like some repeated work sets. Like you see here, this is like week 3. You know, we're going like 3x3 at like 70, but then what we'll do is just take 5% jumps and singles. Those guys still gotta touch that big weight. And so just as that takes a really basic 5-week linear progression, that singles will eventually prove up to 90, 95% by the end. And we'll have a handful of kids that will hit their wintertime max or even a small PR in the spring ball, just because that training volume will be low, they still touch the heavy weight, sets them up to transition to summertime very successfully. Okay, summer program, okay, so just like everybody else, got to start 9 weeks before camp. One of those weeks is a week off. This is the time now we're developing for camp. This is developing the attitude of that team, the leadership of that team. You spent all winter building it, now you gotta cut that shit loose, okay? 4 to 5 days a week, depending on the phase, trying to play our brand, looking at camp, okay? Improve endurance, ability to stay in explosive power. Still, we're gonna start off a little higher volume early in the summer, transition to week 5. As usual, we'll hit like an evaluation week. I don't call it a true test week, so we'll only train for 5 weeks. Then that last 3-week block of the summer after the off week, we'll do a lot of cluster training on the back end. I'm a big fan of cluster training, but like a lot of times, like, where do you put that in? Because we're like in a college program, you have your 8 weeks in the winter, you got your time in the summertime. Most of those times you're trying to train towards a max. I don't think a cluster is always the best way to get to a max, but there's valuable training response from that. I like that going forward. So what are you doing? It's a repeated effort. It's a repeated explosive power. That's what I want those guys to do during camp. It's a pretty good window of time to fit that in there, okay? Evaluation week, like I said, typically before the off week. Repeated explosive efforts. We used to use a lot of repeated sprint ability. They actually changed that a little bit this year, working with my sports science guy. Once again, finding ways to develop what you're doing. And so now we're bringing a little more like football type movements into this, where you're still kind of working on that same work and rest ratio you would be for repeated sprint ability, but we're bringing in a little more movement skill to it, and then we kind of have some progressions to work through on that. I'm not going to get too deep right now until we've actually done this shit. Maybe I'll come back next year and I'll spill it all for you on that, okay? Everything we do, okay, it's wintertime, especially summertime, I want what we're doing set up to provide opportunities to coach the guys, right? If I go out all summer and I'm just running 300-yard shuttles, how much coaching is there really to do a 300-yard shuttle besides a guy not making the time or whatever, right? We want to be able to make sure we're doing things that set us up to be able to coach those guys. Because we've got to build the tolerance to coaching, because that's what's coming during camp, okay? Once again, not just train the body, you're training the mindset, and then document that progress, okay? And I'll get into that with some images and stuff too, which I think is huge. Not just documenting like posting your maxes and posting speeds and things like that, but we're gonna post those guys' physical process as well. Okay, so summertime. So Monday, blended speed work, okay? Acceleration, that's the day we're doing the repeated explosive effort circuit, okay? Big thing on that day, power clean, secondary squat. Coming on Tuesday, so now this gets back to what Coach was talking about. You know, football's taking X amount of hours. It used to be back in the day, they couldn't do that. Okay, so they do their player run practice, and it was like bullshit recess, and I just kind of pretended like it didn't exist because there wasn't enough real work happening out there to count. Well, now that they're taking time, well, that's cutting time on my block, right? I'm the one responsible to have them ready. So we've done a great job with our coaches, and this comes from my head coach, of empowering us to have impact on what they're doing. So yeah, you may be taking your linebackers through Indy. We're going to help you set up your drills in a more efficient way. We're going to track the workloads with the GPS, because now this has to count for my training. There has to be change of direction benefits that are coming from this. There has to be condition benefits that are coming from this. So we track this to make sure we're meeting the right workload. And we'll see if the position group's behind, we're gonna watch what they're doing. We're gonna help them maybe tweak those drills a little bit so we can get the rep load in we need. Or if my running back coach is blowing those guys out of fucking water, then we help him a little bit to make sure we're not making that what it should not be, okay? So this year our schedule's a little bit different. So when this is gonna go on Tuesdays, we'll come out, team warm up together, skills and drills, and then that's there we'll have like our, what I call like our basic change of direction conditioning, more of like our tempo type run stuff. And that is attached to that session. Here's why I like that, okay? How long is practice? Practice is 2+ hours, right? Well, in training during the week, when do I ever get a chance to have those guys on their feet working for 2 hours on my clock? It doesn't exist. So I tell you the condition of the back end of this. So now they've been out there for what feels like a practice. And those guys leave the field like, God damn, coach, it feels like a Tuesday. Yes, exactly. I know what the workload is. I know what your player load was for this, your yardage was for this. I know what it is for Tuesday practice. You just did a Tuesday practice, okay? And with all the periods of this, on the Tuesdays and Thursdays throughout the summer, last year when we had practice one at camp, they had already had 206 periods of football throughout the course of the summer. It's damn near 10 practices, okay? So if we're gonna have 10 practices in the summer, we gotta make sure those things are contributing to our physical preparation, okay? And then that's the day we'll have blitz groups that day, and that's the day we'll get our sports science stuff done, whether we're doing NORD boards, force decks, all those types of things, getting those measurements done, okay? Wednesdays we're gonna come in, because Tuesday is a monster, Wednesday is just a lift day, come out Thursday. Now this year, once again, this will be a combined session as well too. This hasn't been this way in the past, it will be this year. So we're gonna come out, skills and drills, and then the way we're gonna split this up this year is while the skill guys are doing their portion, we're gonna take the bigs, get their metabolic work done, flip them, and then run their player run practice after that. And basically, we're gonna go the first 3 weeks of some of the change of direction, skill acquisition stuff, a couple teaching stations, and then put in action, ricochet drills, one of the things we use in there too. From there, we're going to what we call our metabolic plays. 6 cones, something I've used a long time in my career. It's literally just a 5-yard by 10-yard box of 6 cones. Each position group then has a laminated card of movement patterns that they use in their position, that they use during Indy, they're specific to their position group, okay? So what we'll do then is we'll have my group of guys, and this is the thing, so to coach hard, making those guys do what though? They gotta be able to get the information, process the information, communicate the information, execute the information. I expect the shit done fast, because we're staying about a 25-second clock when we do this, okay? So if I got my DBs, and I got 10 DBs here, okay? I'm gonna give Vic the play. All right, here you go, It's back pedal, sprint, back pedal, flip your hips and get out. Well, I'm telling him that. I'm not instructing the group. I'm putting pressure on him. He's in the front of the line. He's the leader, right? So what's he got to do now? One, he's got to execute the shit right, because he's setting the example. He's also got to communicate it to those guys as they get started. So as soon as he hits the third cone, next guy's in, next guy's in, next guy's in. As soon as he's getting finished, I'm grabbing him the next one. I'm giving him the next play. I'm stepping back out. I'm coaching the drill. It's on him now to be able to execute that. Okay. Now, once upon a time, I used to be like, we work up. We're gonna go 4 quarters of 8, 12, 14, 16. And I started watching it, and I'm like, oh man, this just doesn't look like I want it to look. Like we're out there for 16 plays. I'm never gonna do that in football. But yet here I am doing it. So what I've done is I've changed it. I look more at practice. Usually in practice, we'll operate in 3, 4, 5 play sets. So now what I've done, I'm taking that same DB group and I've split it in half. Okay? So we'll put Vic's group in, and he's only got, say, 6 guys in his group. We're gonna roll through 3, 4, 5 plays as fast a tempo as we can run them. As soon as you finish your 4th play, you guys are out. Coach's group here is now in. They're gonna run their plays. That's your rest. That's just like practice. You roll your 3 plays, the 2s are taking their 3 plays, the 1s are back out and take their 3 plays. I'm setting this up to feel like practice, okay? So that's the work we're doing there. As we get late in the summer, as we're gonna trim that back a little bit, we're gonna do some resistant tempos that day. Light resistance, like 20-pound chain, about an 80-yard distance, 12-ish second goal time on that, relatively quick rest. And I like the chains on that. Some stuff I kind of started experimenting with a little bit. Hamstring health has been fucking huge with that. And then with that, a little bit of resistance, what you're getting, guys, because tempos get tricky sometimes, right? Kids either run way too damn fast or they don't run right. And you're trying to get that sweet spot in the middle. Well, you throw that chain on, that little bit of resistance, now my hips are a little higher, my stride's a little better, I'm reinforcing good technique as I'm running, right? And so that's where we'll progress that towards the end as we're trying to bring them back a little bit in the back end of the summer. Fridays when we come in, that's our big squat day in the weight room, secondary Olympic movement, and that day we're gonna empty the fucking tank. We're gonna go out in the stadium, we're gonna run stadiums, we're gonna push the big wooden sleds, we're gonna find that dark place and go there on that day. There's not a whole lot of science going on that day other than find how far you can push yourself. And you got the weekend to come back and do it all again the next week, okay? One of the tools we use there outside the stadium is the big 4-man wooden sleds. You put a coach on and ride it, okay? And so kind of what we'll do with that is I'll have my 4 guys up, we'll go like a 4 to 6 second push, time, they peel out as quick as they can, next group's in and going, okay? Once again, try to make sure that first group is back up in about 25 to 35 seconds, okay? Now with that, I can turn that into a social experiment real quick though, because those guys got to be able to communicate and work together when they do that. Okay, so if I'm saying time, and my guy here on the edge is a tired, lazy ass, and he's not peeling off the sled fast, well, that means the guy in the middle can't get out quick enough in time, which means the group behind them can't get there quick enough. Who do you think I'm gonna yell at in that situation? The tired, slow kid? No. I'm gonna motherfuck the guy that's not getting into the sled on time, even though I know it's not his fault. Why? Because now he has to handle it. He has to get that guy to go. Because at the end of the day, I'm not crossing the white line with those guys on Saturdays. They gotta be able to fix that shit themselves. So I need to be able to put them in situations to first of all, uncover the flaws, right? And then teach them how to fix those flaws. So for the sleds, for us, that's a huge thing. And then once again, just a little bit of how what the card looks like in the summertime there. Once again, if you guys want, I'll share all the stuff with you guys. I really don't care. Wrapping up here, laying out the summer field work. I don't expect you to be able to read all that because I can't read all that standing right here. Just want you guys to understand how it's laid out in advance, how we structure it, how we put it all together, okay? And then this is kind of just an example of the 6-cone. That's one of the DV ones, different movement patterns done within that. And then a variation we have, we use like that edge bullet. And so that's kind of like, it's slightly smaller, picture like a boys and girls high school 3-point line. It's just compact down a little bit, it's a little more the distance of the line of scrimmage and distance back to the quarterback. So now those guys have to be able to teach or run a tight arc just as if they're getting to the quarterback, working different movement patterns in there, and we'll run that in the same fashion that we run the 6-cone, okay? The more I can make this stuff feel like ball, the better. Now, even with this, as we get later in the summer, those guys have done a lot of it, I'll change it up a little bit. I may sub those cones out, I may use the red pop-ups. So now my D-line guys gotta be able to dip their shoulders and dip their hips, turn around that, bring a little more football into it. Because by the time I get to week 6, week 7 of the summertime, those kids have been training for a long time, they're starting to sniff ball. If I can start making training feel a little more like ball, now I've increased that level of engagement they have in what they're doing. And what that makes them do too is, makes them coach each other, right? Those guys throw their hands wrong on that, and those guys will jump on each other right away, like, yo, that's not how we do that. Good. The more they coach, the more I don't have to coach, right? Because at the end of the day, like my role, if I have to lead everything and correct everything all the time, I'm selling the team short big time. Because I'm not the one that gets to do that on game day, right? I tell those guys all the time, if I gotta step in and check the room, I have to be the one that steps in and leads all the time, you guys are failing. As leaders on the team, you are failing if I have to do it all the time. I'm gonna help you do it, I'm gonna teach you how to do it, I'm gonna show you how it needs to be done, I'll step in and do what it absolutely has to be done. If I always have to do it, you're failing. My job should just be to correct the rudder as we go. And then once again, document the process, okay? A lot of you guys probably already do this, but especially with young kids in high school, you get a lot of kids that maybe you're in your weightlifting class, or you don't want to be in your weightlifting class. If you can start showing them the progress the kids around them are making, or even their own that they didn't see happen over the course of the semester, you see that buy-in start to increase, okay? So what we'll do is, like, guys' first day on campus will take it, we'll take it at the end of every summertime. As we go, we'll start plugging in all their straight power metrics and those things along with it. These ones are just pulled out of recruiting ones, so this is basically just heights, weights, progress of guys throughout the program, okay? But when you get a guy who was not necessarily a weight room guy at all, that starts seeing that body change over time, his buy-in is better, right? His boys around like, yo, what are you doing? Well, I've been with nutrition more, trying to get better doing that. Shit, maybe I should do that too. Yeah, probably should, okay? And so we'll go through and like I said, we'll give those guys, we'll post them in the weight room, using them, recruiting, those types of things, but I think it's just important to show those guys the process they're making. Because a guy like Fabe sees himself in the mirror every single day. He doesn't notice that change until he sees that picture, right? Also now, like, that gives him the affirmation he needed of all the hard work that he put in that he maybe did not see until he goes home and mom wants to know what happened. Okay? Transition of that. In season, try to be quick. How am I doing?
About 3 minutes.
In season will be fast. All right. So, start camp to the bowl game. Basically 3 days a week, okay? During camp, I lift those guys every single day during camp, unless we're scrimmaging or traveling, okay? I do that, I keep the session short. We are in and out of there fucking quick. Like if you're familiar with like Dan John's Easy Strength program, which is complete bullshit because there's nothing easy about that at all, it's a little bit derived from that. So I'm gonna squat those guys every single day when they come in. Now, it may be a max of 9 total reps on that day. But if you add up our monthly volume we did over the course of camp, we got a lot of work done. Without ever leaving them sore, without leaving them fatigued, without them feeling like shit. Because back in the day, I'd have offense one day, defense the next day. Offense one day, defense the next day. And it never failed. Whatever group lifted that day, practiced better that day. Because they got all the kinks out. They were moving better. They'd been engaged in something physical already today, so that when we went out to practice, it wasn't the first thing we did all day. So I started seeing that, and like, coach, I need them every day. But I only need them like this long. So like, we'll set up 40 damn hurdles. They'll come in automatically, roll through all the hurdle mobility, a couple of single joint warm-up stuff, come in, get the lift done, hit the recovery stuff, and get out. Okay? In-season program, it's not a maintenance program. I hate that word in season. Now, is a program training for max? No, it's not that either, right? But we're trying to keep specific qualities elevated throughout the year, okay? So we're going to focus on quality of movement, especially we're focusing on speed of the movement later we get in the season. The faster that bar is moving, the more important to us, okay? And then with our auxiliary movements, keeping that as we maintain the body weight, maintaining that mass, maintaining that body armor throughout the season. Practice is our conditioning, right? But you got to manage that. on both ends. You gotta make sure you're doing enough. You gotta make damn sure you're not doing too much, otherwise you have nothing left on Saturday. Don't leave your best work on the practice field, okay? For our young guys, that's a huge window of development. They are more like an off-season program. I know it sucks to squat right after you play a college football game, but at the end of the day, Monday's the day off, and Sunday's the furthest day away from the next game, okay? Well, a short practice that night, helmet day, Monday's the off day, Tuesday, big work day, lift after practice, Wednesday is another big practice day, there'll be a group that lifts that day as well, depending on what group the guys are in. Thursday is like a straight, like no sweat walkthrough. Lift that day is a little more of like upper body pump, body armor, regen work, mobility work, get those guys feeling good. Friday, short padded practice, it's about 60 minutes. It's gonna be full padded, speed on speed, we're gonna clack that day, okay? And then basically the two deep guys are gonna go Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday, depth vets, Sunday, Wednesday, Thursday, young guys, Sunday, Wednesday, and Friday, basically that time of year. Get an idea of just kind of what the workload looks like through camp, have an idea of what the practice loads need to look like. So like, I'm fortunate, I get to sit down with coach, with our sports science guy, and lay out what we're doing every day for practice from a global standpoint, taking a 30,000-foot view of what needs to happen. And we hit it damn near right last year, except we had a day where the weather changed. That should have been a lower day, building into camp. But just get an idea of like having a plan of what you're doing and what you want it to look like. Okay? Camp card, like I said, it's quick. Those guys are getting out fast. We're hitting the main shit and we're getting out of there because I'm gonna get them every day. So I don't have to try to pack too much in on one given day because I'll see you tomorrow. Okay? Same thing, card in season, main stuff on Sunday, and then Monday or Tuesday, and then with the Thursday, basically you select boxes there. We'll run that like circuit style that day. I basically post up a coach at each different movement, and as those guys come through, we're just checking off cards. Because you're bringing guys to post-practice, so it doesn't all start at once. Pretty easy to lose track of guys, especially in season. You got a lot of shit going on. You got some guys that kind of want to try to victory lap that shit and get out of there. That's just our way of making sure that doesn't happen. Okay? With that kind of stuff, basically, that's our standard game report, which is great, and we can go real deep on that and completely nerd out in the office and all that. Football coaches don't speak that language. The one thing to look at is who ran fast and who's fucked up. And none of that means anything. Coaches do good with crayons and colors, okay? So, in our staff meeting every day, they get that sheet, okay? So basically, they have their position group, okay? And then you see there where it's either blue or red, okay? The guy's in blue, he is slightly behind, he's like a standard deviation behind the average workload of his position group, okay? If he's in red, he's a standard deviation above the rest of the position group. Now, on any given day, that's totally fine, right? But if you start stacking up, and this is an early report, but you'll see if we're later in the camp, there'll be numbers in there. So you'd have Ja'Kai Douglas, that might say 12. That means he's had 12 consecutive days where he's above the rest of that position group. We have to intervene on that so we don't run that kid to the ground. Meanwhile, the next guy to him that's in blue is falling behind. Well, it's football. That guy's behind is one step away from being the guy. So we have to make sure we're balancing that workload, keeping it distributed out evenly over those position groups. And then you'll see guys whose names are in red. If you got a guy whose name is in red, that's a guy who's on a modified practice plan, coming off injury or whatever it may be, okay? So if you're on a modified practice plan, you better sure as hell not also be in red. If you're in red, your position coach is fucking you, right? So those we got to interview like, this cannot happen, right? So whatever you make sure doesn't happen. If those guys are in red, they better be in blue or they better be in white. They sure as hell better not be red, okay? And so those guys get that daily. That helps them adjust their indie, that helps them adjust their rep steering team on a day in, day out basis to make sure they're keeping that workload spread across the guys the right way. And talk about tradition stuff, just something.
Rock
just
and
a
Hammer,
little piece
Coach of Line. It's been kind of part of our program since we very first met back in 2012.
So we break a rock after every victory.
Guys chosen to break the rock after the game. You know, oftentimes it's maybe a guy who had an individually exceptional performance. You know, maybe made one game-changing, game-winning play. You know, with the Hammers being a symbol of like you're that guy, like you're a guy, you're ready to go do a job. And that's a you know a blue collar tool, a blue collar action, like you're a guy. You know, that's just kind of symbolizing taking the next step forward in the journey.
Have traditions, have things for the kids to attach to, you know. So with us breaking that rock, it's kind of the equivalent of a game ball, right? But over the course of the week, we'll kind of watch practice during the week as to who's going to carry that front through the victory walk and into the stadium and stuff on that day, right? Which the guys like that because the thing is, if you got the Hammers, you'll be the first one at the bus, you'll be the first one out of the stadium, You're gonna be on TV, you're gonna get all the pictures, guys like that shit, that's fine with me, right? And so usually, Friday after practice, I'll give the coach real quick, kind of give him my thoughts of who I think should carry it that week. He may have a thought too, and then we go on our Friday focus meeting before we go to the hotel. That's my chance where I'll present the hammers, whoever's gonna carry it that week, and I'll go there with the flamethrower on to give those guys a little motivation on the day when we do that, okay? And once again, it's small things. But small things become important things in your program. It's what bonds kids, it's what builds infinity to your program and what you're doing. Find ways to accomplish that. The end. That's all I got. If you guys got questions, I'm here for your questions. Like I said, the one thing I'll be is transparent in what we do, how I do things.